I always trusted Anna. She was my rock, my everything. We've been married for 6 years, and though we didn't have kids, I thought we were in a pretty solid place. I'm not saying we were perfect, but every couple has their ups and downs, right? Anyway, a few months back, Anna started using Uber a lot more often. At first, it made sense. Her office had just moved to a new location, and she didn't want to deal with parking. Plus, she always complained about the traffic. She had this one driver, Alex. At first, I didn't think much of it. Anna kept mentioning how helpful and funny he was. She even made a joke about how lucky she was to get the same guy every time. It sounded innocent enough. I mean, who cares if a random driver is nice? But the rides started becoming more frequent, more routine. Anna didn't just use Uber for work anymore. She used it for everything: grocery runs, visiting friends, even heading out to yoga. And every time, it was Alex. She laughed it off, saying she was too lazy to drive herself. I didn't push back. I mean, I trusted her. Looking back now, I feel like an idiot. I ignored every single red flag. Things really started to get weird when Anna began to forget to mention when she was out with Alex. She used to text me updates, saying she was on her way home or running late because of work. But now there were gaps. Hours would go by, and I wouldn't hear from her at all. When I asked her about it, she just brushed it off, saying she was swamped with work or stuck in traffic. I didn't think much of it at first. I wanted to believe her. One night I got home early from work and found her laughing on the phone, and I caught a name that made my stomach flip: Alex. She was giggling, twisting her hair in that flirty way she hadn't done in ages, and when she saw me, she hung up so fast it was like the phone was on fire. I asked her who she was talking to, and she gave me this annoyed look and said, "Just work stuff, babe. Why are you so paranoid?" It wasn't just the phone calls, though. Anna started dressing differently too. Suddenly, she was all about these new outfits: tight dresses, heels, lipstick she hadn't worn since we first started dating. She said she wanted to feel good about herself again, and I didn't want to be the controlling husband, so I encouraged her. But then she started staying out later, coming home smelling like some fancy cologne I definitely didn't wear. I couldn't shake this gut feeling that something was off. One night, I brought up how strange it was that she was always with the same driver. She rolled her eyes at me, acting like I was being ridiculous. "Oh my God, seriously? He's just a driver, John. You're being crazy," she said, her voice all high-pitched and defensive. Then she changed the subject, turning the whole thing into an argument about how I didn't trust her. I let it go because I hated fighting with her. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. A couple of weeks later, I decided to surprise Anna. I took the day off work and planned a romantic dinner to celebrate our anniversary. I figured it would help us reconnect, given how distant she'd been lately. I even bought her favorite wine and reserved a table at that little Italian place where we had our first date. I got home early to set everything up. As I walked in, I heard her in the shower, the sound of water cascading mixed with her humming. I smiled, thinking of how perfect the evening would be. But my heart sank when I noticed her phone sitting on the kitchen counter, buzzing repeatedly with notifications. I didn't want to snoop, but I couldn't help myself. I glanced at the screen, and the name that kept flashing was Alex. That gut feeling turned into a knot in my stomach as I picked up her phone. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I had to know. I unlocked it, and to my horror, I found a string of flirty messages between Anna and Alex. They talked about meeting up outside of her rides, and there were even emojis that made my skin crawl. One message made my heart drop. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just a little more fun than driving, right?" I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My hands shook as I put the phone back down just as Anna came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, her hair wet and glistening. The look on her face shifted from surprise to guilt in a split second. "What are you doing with my phone?" she asked, her voice suddenly cold. I couldn't hold back. "I saw your messages with Alex," I said, the words tumbling out of my mouth like a tidal wave. Are you seriously cheating on me? Her expression twisted into one of fury and disbelief. You have no right to go through my things. It's not what you think. My heart raced as she continued her outbursts, but I felt a simmering rage rising within me. She was lying to my face, and somehow, that made everything worse. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm despite the chaos swirling inside me. Not what I think. Anna, I just read the messages. It's exactly what I think. Her eyes widened in a mix of surprise and anger. You're jumping to conclusions, John. Alex is just a friend. He's there for me when you're busy. Busy? Anna, I work to support us. You know that. How can you stand there and act like this is okay? I couldn't keep the hurt out of my voice. I felt betrayed and raw, and the tears I held back threatened to spill. Anna scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, please! Don't act like you're the perfect husband. You're always working late and ignoring me. I need someone who listens and understands. I thought you were different. The audacity. My blood boiled at her twisting of the narrative. So you're justifying cheating because I'm busy with work? You're using that as an excuse? She opened her mouth to reply, but I could see the gears turning in her head. Suddenly, her face shifted from anger to desperation. Okay, maybe I've been spending too much time with Alex, but it's just a phase. I promise it didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? I said incredulously. You've been hiding this from me for months. How can I trust you again? You need to face the truth, Anna. This isn't just a phase, it's an affair. Her eyes glistened with tears, but I didn't feel sympathy. Instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal. I can't believe you do this to us, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. After everything we've been through, you throw it away for some guy who drives a taxi? She stepped forward, her hands pleading. John, please. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. It was just supposed to be harmless fun. Don't ruin everything over a mistake. The more she talked, the angrier I became. I realized this wasn't just a moment of weakness for her. This was a betrayal that ran deep. A mistake? I echoed, shaking my head. This is far beyond a mistake, Anna. You've made your choice, and it's not me. The tears spilled down her cheeks, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of remorse. But then, I remembered those messages and the way she brushed off my concerns. I took a step back, my mind racing with thoughts of what to do next. Anna's sobs echoed through the apartment, but I felt nothing but anger and disbelief. The air was thick with tension, and I realized I needed to escape the whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume me. I can't do this right now, I said, turning toward the door. Where are you going? She cried, desperation lacing her voice. You can't just walk away. I need space, Anna. I can't just stand here and listen to your excuses anymore, I replied, my heart heavy. I grabbed my keys and headed outside, the cool night air hitting me like a wave of clarity. I walked aimlessly around the block, my mind racing. I couldn't believe I was in this situation. How could the woman I loved betray me like this? After an hour of pacing and trying to collect my thoughts, I finally headed back home, knowing I had to confront her again. But when I walked in, I found her sitting on the couch, a crumpled tissue in hand, looking so small and fragile. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to try to fix what was broken. But I knew better now. John, I'm so sorry. I messed up, she started, her voice trembling. I just got caught up in the moment. It didn't mean anything. Stop, I interrupted, my voice steely. Stop with the lies. I can't trust anything you say anymore. You've shattered my trust in you. You think I can just forgive and forget? You're wrong. Her face contorted, and she lashed out again. You don't understand. Alex makes me feel alive. You don't see me anymore. You've been so wrapped up in your job that you don't care about us. You think I don't care? I shot back, my frustration bubbling over. I work hard so we can have a life together. I never thought I'd have to compete with a taxi driver for your affection. Maybe if you were more present, I wouldn't have needed to find it elsewhere. She spat, venom lacing her words. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was infuriating how she twisted everything to make it my fault. You're blaming me for your choices? I shook my head, disbelief etched on my face. I'm done, Anna. I can't keep doing this. You've made your choice. John, please don't say that, she pleaded, tears streaming down her cheeks. We can fix this. I love you. But as I looked into her eyes, I felt a cold realization settle in. Love wasn't enough anymore. Not when betrayal had taken root. I need to think about what I want, I said, my voice heavy with finality. And right now, I want out of this marriage. The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, and I saw her expression shift from desperation to panic. She knew this wasn't just a fight. It was the beginning of an ending. The silence in the room was deafening after my words sank in. Anna stared at me, her expression shifting rapidly from shock to anger, then settling on sheer desperation. You can't be serious, she exclaimed, her voice rising. You're just going to throw everything away because of one mistake? It's not just one mistake, Anna, I replied, my voice steady but low. It's a series of choices you made. You chose to betray my trust, to seek comfort in someone else. This isn't something I can just forget. Her face twisted in rage. So what? You're just going to give up on us? Just like that? You're walking away? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. You made that choice when you chose him over me. I can't stay in a relationship where I feel like I'm second best. She shot up from the couch, her voice turning hysterical. You're being so dramatic. You don't even know the whole story. I was lonely. You weren't there for me. Lonely? I shook my head in disbelief. We were supposed to be a team. You could have talked to me instead of running into the arms of a stranger. This is on you. Anna's hysteria turned into frantic pacing, her hands running through her hair. This isn't fair, John. I can't lose you. I'll do anything. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. I was done. You don't get to say that after everything. You've shattered my trust. I can't imagine a future with someone who would betray me like this. As the reality of the situation sank in, I felt a wave of clarity wash over me. I needed to put distance between us. I'm going to file for divorce, I said, the words slipping out with a calmness that surprised even me. The color drained from her face. You don't mean that, she cried, her voice breaking. We can fix this, I swear. Just give me a chance. But I felt no sympathy. You had your chances, Anna. You've already made your choice. She collapsed onto the couch, her shoulders shaking with sobs, but I felt nothing but resolve. I turned to leave the room, but she called out one last time. John, please! Don't leave me! But I was already walking out the door, leaving behind the remnants of what once was. I knew the road ahead would be painful, but staying would only prolong the agony. The days that followed felt surreal. I went through a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, and oddly enough, relief. Anna had tried calling and texting, begging me to reconsider, but I had made my decision. I wanted to focus on myself and move forward. I found a divorce attorney, someone who specialized in cases like mine, and we set a date to meet. The lawyer listened to my story and explained the process, laying out what to expect. It felt surreal, discussing the end of my marriage as if it were a business transaction. The next few weeks were filled with paperwork and meetings. I barely saw Anna, as we were living in the same apartment but barely speaking. Whenever she tried to engage me, I would shut her down. I didn't want to get sucked back into her manipulations. One evening I returned home from a meeting with my lawyer, feeling drained. As I stepped inside, I noticed Anna sitting on the couch with her arms wrapped around her knees, staring blankly at the wall. She looked lost, but my sympathy was long gone. Are you okay? She finally asked, her voice small. Why do you care? I shot back, the bitterness creeping into my words. I don't want to lose you, John, she said, her voice trembling. I've been thinking a lot. I realized how stupid I was. I could see the desperation in her eyes, but I wasn't interested in her sob stories anymore. It's too late for that, Anna. You made your choices. You chose him over us. Please, she pleaded. Just talk to me. We can work things out. Her tone was pleading, and part of me wanted to give in, but I knew better. What's there to talk about? You've already made your choice clear. And just as I was about to walk away, I heard her phone buzz from the kitchen. The instinct to check it returned, but I fought it. I had to remain strong. But then, curiosity gnawed at me. Is Alex still texting you? I asked, turning back to her. Anna's face blanched, and she avoided my gaze. It's just messages about work. You know how he is. She replied too quickly, and I knew she was lying. In that moment, something snapped inside me. You still talk to him? I couldn't believe it. After everything? You haven't learned a thing. She rose from the couch, her eyes wild. I can't just cut everyone out of my life. I have friends, John. Friends? I said, my voice rising. This isn't about friends, this is about you betraying me. You need to take responsibility for what you've done. She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. I'm done, Anna. I'm moving forward, with or without you. You need to figure out your own mess. The door slammed shut behind me as I stepped out, my heart pounding. I knew I had to stay strong, but part of me still felt that familiar pang of hurt for the life we once had. I was on the path to divorce, and there was no turning back. Weeks turned into months as the divorce process dragged on. Every interaction with Anna felt like a battle, full of accusations and bitter reminders of what we once shared. I focused on my job, throwing myself into work to escape the turmoil of my personal life. My friends were supportive, but I felt the weight of disappointment hanging over me like a dark cloud. Then came the day of the final hearing. I arrived at the courthouse, my heart racing. I'd spent countless nights rehearsing what I would say, preparing for the moment I'd finally cut ties with her. Anna was already there, looking different, perhaps a bit more vulnerable. She wore a simple black dress that contrasted with the fiery outfits I had come to associate with her. When we were called in, I felt the tension thick in the air. The judge sat across from us, and I could sense Anna's eyes on me, pleading for some kind of understanding. But the anger and betrayal still burned bright in my chest. As the proceedings began, the lawyer laid out the details, the division of our assets, the future of our shared apartment. Anna tried to speak up a few times, but her words only fueled my resolve. You can't just take everything. We built this life together, she exclaimed, her voice breaking. Together? I replied, frustration boiling over. You shattered our life together when you decided to cheat. This isn't about what we built, it's about what you destroyed. The judge raised an eyebrow at my outburst, but I didn't care. This was my moment to reclaim my life. As the hearing progressed, I realized I didn't just want the divorce, I needed it. I wanted to be free from the lies and manipulation that had become our daily reality. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the judge declared the marriage dissolved. It was done. The finality hit me like a wave, and for a brief moment, I felt a rush of relief mixed with sadness. I turned to Anna, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of the person I had fallen in love with. But I quickly pushed that thought away. As we walked out of the courthouse, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, John. I never wanted it to end like this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe you should have thought about that before you made your choices, I replied, the bitterness creeping back in. I know I messed up, she continued, her voice trembling. But I still love you. Can't we start over? I paused, the weight of her words heavy in the air. Love isn't enough, Anna. You took that from us. As I stepped away from her, I felt an unexpected sense of closure. It was time to move on, to reclaim my life without her in it. I walked toward the exit, leaving the memories of our past behind me. I had a long road ahead, but I was ready to face it, without her. As I stepped into the sunlight, I felt the warmth wash over me, a stark contrast to the coldness of our final moments. I was free, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future.